Okay, welcome back. Today I'm doing another cat. I believe this is Mittens again. Although the lighting is so different, I think it might be a different cat. I know that Becki has two cats, and I can't remember what the other one's name is. So this is either Mittens or the other cat. I'll find out and put it in the description. I picked this shot in particular because the body's kind of bleh, but this is all about getting that face correct. Because one of the things that I think is one of the most important aspects of furry art is the ability to... Oh, there we go. The ability to get that kind of muzzle shape. It's one of the sort of key defining factors in furry art is this kind of, because that's like the sort of key part of a fursuit as well, is that muzzle. It's this part, and the way that you construct it, so I've got to undo all those lines now. I believe the way you construct this, if you're doing it the proper artist way, is that if you imagine your head being there. Actually, can I just... I fixed my shortcuts so I can change my brush sizes a lot more easily now. If you have your head there, that's really bad. There we go. If you call that circle there the head, then you have along the kind of centre line of the head, that's a sort of circular centre line, right in the middle here, you then have a secondary centre line, because that is a 3D sphere that comes out from there, reattaches at the bottom. And then that's the centre for the nose, the centre for the, you know, the chops and then of course either side of this is where the eye comes out, and everything else basically spawns from there. So it's all about getting this curve of the head correct. That there is basically neck at that point. And maybe I'll work on the paws and stuff afterwards, but to be honest, the majority of this is going to be just getting the head right. God, look at that. That was so bad. I'm starting this a little later than I normally would because I've been trying to record a magic trick for a competition. And wouldn't you believe it, the whole thing went wrong and I've got to start again tomorrow. But that's the thing. Little tiny mistakes, things that you forget, having to say something again just to get it right, like little corrections or hesitations like that in a script. Live on stage it's fine, you can sort of blunder over it, repeat things, maybe step back a bit, and it's fine. But if you're doing it on a recording, because we've got to do, you know, socially distanced performances, if you're doing it on a recording, what's all important is getting it right, like, because it's permanent then. So you don't want it to be forever wrong. So let's get some scratching in this. So if we start with our head there, because we know the great thing about this image, actually, I just want to say this, is that this head is basically the bottom left-hand corner. So I can actually start down here and not worry too much about things falling out of place. I can come in here, there's my centre point, and I can then do that. How far does that come out? It comes out a little bit from the side, but it's sort of lines up with the side of the face. The muzzle of a cat does not protrude very far at all. It's mostly about getting the positioning of the nose right, because this then comes out, and that's like your new centre line there. Let's do that a bit fainter. So if I have my circle there for the nose, I have my centre line there. There's my centre line. How far down the muzzle is the nose? It's kind of... It ends about halfway, so if I get the halfway point, that's the bottom of that. Boom, there it is. And this does actually... It kind of meets up in the corner there, so... Ideally you'd want that sort of, I think maybe the head's turned a bit more than I've put it there, so that the head's turned that far, so that's my centre line. And the nose is kind of across there, up there. But what we know about cat noses is that you don't draw them like that, because they have this weird sort of almost like an arrowhead shape on this nose. I guess different cats have different shaped noses. So this has an inward there, and that goes there, and that's then indented there a bit. Thing to note actually is that nose, it goes further off this way than it does that way. This is very nearly at the very edge of it. Second guessing myself already, this ain't good. Centre line there, that there, this comes way further out here. There we go. And then we have the bizarre arrowhead shape there, and that's just like a little buckle there. This comes in here, we have this line coming down here to the jawline there. This one comes in sort of there-ish. And the cat's eyes are quite near the top of its head. There we go. So if we have the centre of the face kind of there, the eyes sort of round out at the bottom and they go upward from that. So the eyes have to fit into this kind of space here. We know that one comes out from here. There's a similar line coming up from there to there. Again, in this image you'll see that it's almost entirely iris with a tiny sliver of pupil. But if I do that here, it's going to look really mean. I'm going to open that up a bit just to make it a little bit friendlier when I do it. Maybe give it a bit of bit extra white in the eye as well. And this sort of comes, there's almost like a direct line that goes from the corner of the nose in each case. So from there it goes like that, and from there it goes like that, you see. Haha. The ears kind of come up from the centre of the head. Because the head is turned, this one is practically that. That's basically it. It's almost like a thin sliver like that. It's really, like, let's undo all of that. That's too much scratching. It practically ends at a point, is what I'm saying. But this one is a big round one. Ooh, not that round. It kind of comes up and then comes down here. Sort of meets up at the side of the head almost. And then we have a part there and an extra fold there where it comes in. Sort of a section on the top of the head where it arrives. Yeah. A few stripes down here. Whiskers. And there is actually, let's just note that you can actually see a little bit of brow line just there. It's really interesting that how where the eye comes in. If I just hide this again, you can see that kind of has this sort of inroads there. So just where the top of the eye is, if we sort of continue that to there, that's where there's a sort of lump bit. Of course, we don't have any of that on this side because here this goes to a point. I've not really done that to a point there. This should go to a point. Yeah, so that's like that. Yeah. See, perfect. This eye comes to here. I wonder if like doing a bigger eye like that would actually make more sense. making it much more sort of Disney-fied. Oh, I like that. Have I done too much? Yeah, this should really be higher. Let's just get rid of that line there. And I just up the brush size for doing the erasing. So this actually comes more sort of like this. That's more like it. It does actually come all the way up to the edge of the muzzle. In fact, it sort of almost reaches the edge of the eye, that. Quite remarkably. And then we can sort of see how that doesn't quite make it all the way into there. Yeah, we're showing good spatial awareness today. Well done, Stacey. Good spatial awareness. Yay. Should we try and get the body in? Given that we're just doing the sketch, we may as well. So, body-wise, we sort of have... we have this area here. I imagine that there's kind of a dotted line to that. A lot of this kind of happens behind the scenes. That's a tail there, believe it or not. So I've been thinking about these paws, and the thing about these paws is they're rounded on the top, but they're flat on the bottom. And I think that it probably would help to think of them in that way, because I was looking back at the picture I did yesterday of Amber, and what I realised was that with the paws, they were rounded on all sides, because I was thinking about them in the wrong way. So this is rounded on the top, flat on the underside. So, in terms of the sketch, we obviously have just about there is where our leg comes out. This is a really bizarre shape for a cat, but that then leads to the body. I've got the picture up there behind as well. Of course, I'm going to be doing a lot more of looking behind me and not showing you things in the construction when I come to do the actual fursonas, which were the big promise of this art cycle. Because one thing I realised is that quite a few of the people's fursonas, and if she's watching, she knows who I'm talking about. Like they're quite deeply personal and a little bit kinky in some places. So I don't want to like make that public for someone. Like, I don't want to say, hey, here's a photo of such and such. But I do want the fursonas to kind of look like them, but only like they'd recognise that it was them, but you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that it was them just by looking at the picture. Like if you didn't know them, you wouldn't be able to figure out who it was. I mean, God knows I'm not that good an artist, but so that's, see, this one's a lot shorter than that. Like, I wish you remembered the brush size when you switch between the pen and the eraser, because at the moment it doesn't, and so I have to scale it up again and scale it down again every time I do that. So this is literally like paw out to there. Like that's almost immediately paw there. It comes into there, this comes out beyond. And then that comes into that shape. We can't really see the rest of this paw because it's behind a that actually comes further out there. Yeah, we can't really see the rest of this paw because it's behind a blanket, but I'm going to fill the rest of it in to kind of... Actually, no, I'm not, because then I'd have to imagine the what the rest of the cat's doing at that point, which I can't do. So let's just have this blanket coming over here to cover that paw. And that paw goes up on a thing there. Yeah. That then makes this a lot easier, because where this leg sort of sticks out here, we know that it follows like... Oh, look, I mean, look at that. That's beautifully proportioned, because you get that nice arc there, which sort of bounds it all, which is great. So that's sort of the... And those legs do kind of come together almost to a sort of perfect arc. That one's too high. That is way too high. Because they essentially, that one comes out at the same place that one comes out, and that one comes out a lot lower actually. Jesus. Ignore that line. I don't want to have to change my pen size again. So yeah, this one comes out further down the ear, about there. Is that, oh, the ear's higher? Is the ear bigger than I'm drawing it? It's quite a large ear. So yeah, that comes out about there, goes straight up for a bit and then outwards. But this one comes out around the same place, but instead comes down a little bit. Paw there. And then that essentially comes out sort of on a rough arc from there. So again, we imagine that as a flat side and everything comes up from it. It gets wider there. The tail's down here, around the tip. And this leg ends on that arc, and this is practically straight on, and then there's a curve which comes overhead and straight to there. Maybe a little flatter actually, so it rounds there and then kind of opens out. Every part of this cat just sort of disappears into a blanket at the tip of it. So that's the layout of this cat, like so. And now it's time to fill that in. Yeah. Okay, which means we'll drop the opacity. Oh, that's the opacity of my paintbrush, not the opacity of the layer. Get it right, Stace. Where are we going to go first? Let's start with the nose. Always a good place to start. I'm going to thicken up my brush a bit, because it's nice to have nice thick lines. And as per usual, there's a little tiny line that goes up the centre of the nose. I'm not going to do it up all the way. And this here comes out a little bit into there. Because this one comes all the way out. And sort of roughly level with it, it goes back in. Like that. because that comes up there. Let's get the top in first. Let's get that right. That goes to there, and then this has that sort of same curve. It actually goes up a bit, doesn't it? It goes up like that. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So then we have this line comes up straight to here. The eye comes off the edge of it. Like that goes in a lot more. It's got a sort of three-dimensionality to it. I use that word a lot. I'm not even sure if it's a real word. Three-dimensionality. No, let's not do that. Let's stick with the lines that we know are there. We have the front curve of the eye. We have a line that comes up here, practically in a straight line. Doesn't go all the way up though. It goes to about there. That's where I've got this wrong. So the front curve of the eye, and that goes up to about, no, front curve of the eye. This then goes up to approximately there, because this one comes out and goes over. Like that, except maybe not quite so highly strung. Not now, Amber. Got the dog moaning at me. Becky's downstairs. You know, she could let the dog out, give her some food, some water. She could do anything for this dog. But this dog doesn't want Becki. This dog wants me. This dog specifically wants for me to help her out because I'm the busy one. And clearly the busy one is the one who has to do all the things. So yeah, when I come to do the fursonas, it's very much going to be a case of, you know, think about it, the shine would still be circular. Because the eye is still round. Huh, interesting, I hadn't thought of that before. Right. You might notice I'm not actually mimicking where the actual light is coming from in this picture. Right, so this actually comes all the way up to a line down like that, where this sort of almost peeks out and then comes back down to there, and this ear then down to there and up to this one. In fact, that one almost sort of starts in front of it. You see, that ear is bigger than that one, like quite sizably so. Maybe I've done it a little bit too much bigger. If I come up here, no, that has a very straight line there. Let's go up the other way. Might be easier to do it the other way. There we go. I think that's a better eye, better ear. Eye. What am I talking about? So there is, on the original image, on the source image, there is like quite clearly a sort of evident contour along here. But I don't want to fill that whole thing in. I'm going to end it kind of there. So I'm going to just bring that to there, because I think that that will look better. I think. Actually, that's quite clearly just a globe there, and then do the front ones first. There we go. That's the folds of your blanket. And this one comes that way, but we're not going to do that one yet, because first we're going to capture this paw. Nope. So yeah, even though I want to capture the facial features of the people I'm doing the personas of, I don't want to sort of put their picture up and say, look, this is the weird idea that this person had, because that's kind of, you know, it's practically kink shaming at this point, which I don't want to do that. You know, I want to give people the gift of a persona without telling the world that, hey, did you know that such and such wants this? It's just not very nice. And then that comes, let's get it in. Let's go from above. Better. There's that one there. This one comes down to here. Let's just pull that in a bit. I don't even know if anyone really watches these videos, but you never know. All kinds of mad crap can surface on the internet. Probably shouldn't say mad. That's kind of an ableist slur. I'm trying to catch myself when I do that sort of thing at the moment. It's really insidious how it sort of becomes part of your language without you really intending it to. Just turns into a thing you say. And that claw disappears behind there. Right then. I'll check to see what it looks like without that. Ooh. Okay, there's something definitely wrong about that muzzle, and I think there's almost a kind of structure to it, like a line there almost. And more of a okay, we can get rid of some of that. In fact, that kind of disappears around there. Although that doesn't really help. What's going to make that look less weird? Cats have heavier outlines around their eyes, so we can get that much in there to start with. We're just getting the whiskers into it. That would do it. I reckon if we get those in correct, we're halfway there. And then if we get that stripe and this stripe. Is it just because it looks so bare? Is that what's making it look so strange? If we can get... Does that look more normal or less normal? Hard to tell. Let's undo all that because we don't want to do that without the guidelines on. Does look kind of odd though. Maybe just adding the other stuff in is going to make it look better. So there's the rest of our paw. There is a kind of a... That helps. Actually, that helps a lot. Yeah. And this has the same kind of thing happening here. Except it is actually, let's go back and put that line back in because that is actually kind of happening behind that line. Except it's not really, it's more all the way along. If I just look on here, if I go straight up from that middle of the nose there and straight down from the eye there, that's that. If I come on here, and if just on this layer I go straight down, straight up from that part of the eye and straight up from that part of the nose, is that ear too far across, or is that my mind playing tricks on me? Should that ear be like that way? Unknown. Gonna leave it for now. Work on the rest of the cat first, and then maybe fix it at the end. Actually, that's a good point. That doesn't... I'm trying to draw the shape of the paw there, and that's not what it does. What it actually does, it goes behind a crinkle in the blanket. Let's get that right. We don't want... When we do the paw, the one thing that we do not want is for that to kind of curve up like that. What we want is a kind of a flat bottom on it almost. So if this comes up to here, we want just a straight line where that goes. Yeah, the reason I know that goes further across is because that bit of blanket should actually come higher up it. Because there's this wrinkle of blanket here, and then that comes out there, and that should cover it. So we'll fix that in a minute. Let's get this leg right. This comes further down. Slightly out from behind there. don't know why I'm trying to get that blanket right. It's not like it's... That's not a huge part of this cat, you know. It's not a... That is, though. Yeah. And so this part here then comes... Let's get it from this side. Now this has a sort of upward then downward then like that. Almost. Better, maybe a little bit too much emphasis on that up. Although actually I kind of like the emphasis on that up. I'm going to stick with that. Let's just take that off. I really don't want to be drawing all the stripes on this cat like I've done in the past. Don't want the cat looking in the wrong direction as well. The cat's looking higher up. I'm going to... Take out the cat's eyes. Yeah, now who looks freaky. And I'm going to do the eyes a little bit higher up. Going to do them kind of there-ish. Nope. There's a fly in this room. Where the hell did that come from? So there's an important thing as well, is that if you want the eyes to look to the side, yeah, that's actually closer to where the eyes are looking. Make those a bit bigger. Let's back to this layer here. If I erase what's all in there, these eyes are spherical. That one's more obvious than this one. Let's put a sphere on here. These eyes are spherical, so if we want them to map onto that sphere and we want them to be looking that way, they have to essentially follow a line along there. So if this cat's eyes are looking that way, we want to draw them there, and we want more of that than that because they need to be curved in that direction. Like so. Let's just zoom in and get that right, because I feel like the visual acuity of my hand is failing me here. There we go. That's a much better look. And that also lets us do something else here, which is... Hello.
Hello.
I don't edit these, so anything you say will go down on the internet.
If I was to walk in and swear,
Yep, that'd go in the video.
or say bum.
Yep, in the video.
Excellent. I better not do that then.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. It's a strange looking dog.
It's a cat.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. I'm doing alright. Yeah, because that cuts off there. That makes a lot more sense.
There's a lot of construction lines in there, haven't you?
Well,
they just go.
I think it looks weird without them. The other thing, when it's got the construction lines on.
Yeah, but that's because there's no shading.
I know there's no shading. When I've got the construction lines on, you can sort of see. That's not really shading. That's a bit of fur.
Yeah.
But it's like with the construction lines, you can see that this is round here, that's round there. It kind of all has this three-dimensional shape to it.
But you've gone for very solid lines, whereas
I'm trying to do cartoon style.
Yeah, but the constructs are giving sort of nuance, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because they're sort of scribbly wibbly, and
I've been through all this before with previous images, but the way that I normally do it is by doing lots and lots and lots and lots of fur hatching.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I do that here, that's going to be a mistake. So like, I'm drawing on the wrong layer. Right, let's get to the right layer.
What does it look like if you just put sort of a weird texture on, sort of fur? Or...
It would look awful.
But it would, wouldn't it?
It does, you see, the original cat has these sort of whiskers here.
Yeah.
But if I draw those on, it's going to look really bizarre.
That's because you're drawing white,
transparent
whiskers with.
So what I think I need to do is just add the vague form of these stripes. That's what I need to do. Is add those.
Yeah, yeah.
And that way it'll work.
Are you just going for one colour line there? Could you not add a grey line? Or...
Well, basically what I'm doing is in previous images, I've done them with shading.
Yeah.
Oops. I'm trying not to do shading on these because these ones I want to essentially do them with preparation to block colour them afterwards.
Oh yeah.
So if I...
Well, you don't just get a blue cat without that, do you?
No. So if I now do this, this gives a kind of a form because they follow those curves. They go a bit further that way actually.
They're also slightly lengthened, aren't they? They're not as circular. They're slightly wider.
That looks even worse.
yeah. They're not a dot. They're a.
I know, but still, it looks worse with them than without them.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing that I spend hours agonising over. Let's get rid of that one.
I think you should view that as not key form but decoration.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, decoration creates the form on something like this. That is the form. The form exists. Anything else that I add will give contour to it. So, for example, if it's got a stripe that comes like this and a stripe that goes down like that, that adds shape to it of a sort. But that's not what the stripes do. The stripes kind of go. One's like that. Except no, I don't want to start doing that in the dark pen.
Sure.
Oh, there's one thing I've missed, which is the tail, which comes down there, and is actually fluffier than that. So let's do the fluffiness on the tail.
And less poo-like.
Yeah, thanks for that.
But you know what I mean. It just looks like no reflection on what you've drawn. It's just
Yeah. It all looks like shit. I get it.
No, the original image. It looks like it's lying on its fluffy blanket doing a poo. Oh, it does look like a tail when you look closer, doesn't it?
Hang on, let's do this on the construction layer first. So it kind of comes down there, round there, in there.
It's weird because you expect them to be sort of more to a point, don't you? But that one's sort of. So you've done an interesting treatment with it there to denote the pattern of the fur, but you haven't done that with the rest.
I know. But I feel like the tail is fluffier than the rest.
Yeah.
In terms of its form. Like, yeah, you know, you've got this this fur here on this layer.
Yeah.
Like, you got that fur, but that doesn't really define the shape. That's sort of like, if it wasn't for the light, you wouldn't see it.
Yeah,
if you look at the parts that aren't that well lit, you don't see that. That's like the thin vellus hair on the outside. So I don't want to start doing that. I feel like I've done it here because that kind of defines the fact there is a fluffy edge here. And I think this is the problem. This is one of the things that I'm facing up against, is the fact that a lot of what I'm drawing isn't actually there in the image, but I have to draw it there in the image because without it, it looks wrong.
Yeah, it needs a hint at it, doesn't it?
You've got to hint at some things that aren't visible in the image, because the things that are in the image that hint at it are very difficult to draw. So I think I might actually call that a day. I might just add the last roll of blanket and call that a day. Oh, you've seen the fly, have you?
I don't think I can. Sorry, you just ignore me. I'm just trying to...
Yeah, just ignore the changes in lighting there, folks. Was it? Oh yeah, I was doing that blanket.
Any second now, it's going to go zap. There we go.
Ah, the cruelty.
Sorry, sweet.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I hate flies. Can't stand them.
That's sorry.
And then that kind of goes over there. And then here, this blanket sort of continues up that way and off the image.
Oh, God, sorry about the smell.
Was it the smell of burning fly?
Yeah, spiders, flies, mices, I dispatch the lot.
Yep. Don't do that, I'm trying to... God, that is an awful smell, isn't it?
It is, I'm so sorry.
If I didn't know you just zapped a thing, I'd assume I was having a stroke or something. That's such a burny smell.
Or that the house was on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't help but feel like I need to just add a few...
There's a good gal. Yes, you are. There's a good gal. What are you doing? What's up here? What's this mess you've made? What is this? Do I want to know what this is? Do I want to know what this mess is? Even if you worry.
That's what we need for this form, because the eye has an extra little bit that goes down there and an extra little bit that comes up here.
No, you stay there. You don't need to move. It's all right. No, there's nothing for you.
In fact, it's almost like it goes really... Yeah, it's kind of like that. And then there we go. Let's get some dark stripes on this cat. This cat needs a few dark stripes just here. So let's go by this. So the curve of the head goes like that. There's one stripe that goes down to the middle like that. There's a secondary stripe that comes here and splits. And there's a third stripe that seems to go into there. There's a stripe that comes back off here. That kind of fuzzes out that way. And then there's a stripe that comes almost like it's on a pathway from the eye. Ah, that's the key about these, isn't it? Is that they're not distinct stripes, they have a kind of a fuzziness to them. So these stripes, which come down here, they'll fuzz up there. So if we come on here, this will have this kind of shape to it. Yeah. And it's always the underside that these lines are too straight. They need to curve more. That headline is too strong as well. That's a much flatter curve. And these are further apart. No. Whatever these wind up looking like, I'm keeping them because I've spent long enough doing them now. I know I said that when I do these videos and I show my process, part of my hope in doing that is that, you know, in years to come, if I become a great artist, maybe at that point people can look back at these videos and go, oh wow, she wasn't always an art genius. Maybe too many whiskers. You can only really ever make out 2 or 3 dark whiskers. Maybe one more. There we go. Maybe in years to come someone will say, oh, she wasn't always an art genius. Look, maybe one day I could be an art genius because look how terrible she was at that point in her career. And now look at her. But at the same time, the other hope that I have is that someone is going to watch one of these videos and they're going to say, oh my God, this person is so bad at art, I must help them. So that's hope number 2. Whether or not any of these things come to pass, I don't know. I don't know if they ever will, because nobody's ever reached out and said, you know, Stace, you'd have a much easier time drawing if you did this. Or, oh, what you want to do, what you really want to do. What? I got a line there. There is no line there on the original image. If they just like gave me a pointer and said, what you want to do is construct it like this, or the mistake you made here is this. And if they did that, like then I could be art genius. You know, I could follow the advice and what am I doing? I'm changing my brush size apparently. And if I was art genius, then I could do the same thing and help other people. Because no one watches these progress videos, nobody knows where I'm making mistakes. They just see the mistakes and go, oh, that's a problem. So, go figure. That does actually help bring form to the face. I'm really glad that I did that. There's one last line, it's kind of under there. Oop, follow the curve, right? Sort of goes under there, and then this part is the fuzzy part. Like that. And there's a similar one under there. I think I'm just about willing to call that done. And the tail is very dark indeed. So I'm actually going to give this cat a completely black tail, because I am the artist and I get to make these sort of decisions. Yeah. Someone's shifted my aspect ratio. In fact, what should the aspect ratio be on this brush? 0, that's more like it. I don't know when that shifted, but I've apparently been drawing with a tilted brush for quite some time. That explains a lot. Let's zoom out and see what it looks like. There's a cat. Apparently, that is a cat, according to some version of perspective. God, zooming out from it like that now, the difference in the size between the body and the head is really, really obvious now. I'm not sure that I like that, but there's part of me wants to sort of come in here and add like a fine sort of three-dimensional lines like this to add more shape to the eyes. Although, you know, I can't help but feel like, let's undo all of that. I still think it might look better if we just got rid of that. Because that looks more like an actual cat's eyes. I should look at how other cartoonists draw the eyes of cats, because I'm fairly sure I'm getting it wrong. Like I'm fairly sure that I'm getting it wrong. That'll do. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to call that a day, because anything else that I add to this now is only going to make it worse. Except that bum curve just still looks wrong. I feel like that shouldn't go back in as much. It should almost... Whoops. That should go straight out to there. That's better. That's a lot better. There's the cat. Yep. Calling it a day.